The Bridges of Madison County tells a story. It is about a man and a woman. They meet by chance. They spend 4 days together. Those 4 days change their lives forever. The woman's name is Francesca. She is married and has children. The man's name is Robert. He is a photographer and travels alone. They fall in love, but she cannot go with him. She chooses her family. This book became very famous. Later, a movie was made. The story starts in the year 1965. A woman named Francesca Johnson lives on a farm in Iowa. She was born in Italy. She grew up in a small town near Naples, Italy. During World War II, she met an American soldier. His name was Richard Johnson. Richard was kind and strong. Francesca fell in love with him. She decided to leave her home country. She married Richard and came to live with him in Iowa. That was many years ago. Now, Francesca was in her middle 40s. Richard and Francesca had 2 children. Their names were Michael and Carolyn. Michael was the older child. Carolyn was younger. Both children were now teenagers. They went to the local high school. Richard worked hard on the farm every day. He grew corn and soybeans. He also raised some cattle. Francesca took care of the house and the garden. She cooked meals, washed clothes, and cleaned the rooms. She also helped with farm work when needed. Francesca was a good wife and mother. She did her duties well. No one could say she was lazy or careless. But she felt something was missing inside her heart. Her life was very quiet. Every day was almost the same as the day before. She woke up early, made breakfast, sent the children to school, did housework, made lunch, worked in the garden, made dinner, and then went to sleep. There was no change. There was no excitement. Francesca loved her family. She would never say she hated her life, but she felt lonely inside. She dreamed of other places. She remembered her life in Italy. She remembered the music, the food, the warm evenings, and the busy streets with many people. Iowa was very different. It was flat and quiet. The nearest town was small. The nearest big city was far away. There were no mountains or oceans. The winters were cold and the summers were hot. The life was simple but hard. One week in August, a change came. Richard took the children to the state fair. The state fair was a big event. There were farm animals, competitions, rides, and food. The children wanted to go very much. Richard decided to take them. They would be gone for 4 days. Francesca would be alone in the house. She was happy to have some time for herself. She planned to read books, listen to Italian music, and rest. She did not plan to do anything special. On the first day alone, Francesca was sitting on her porch. It was a warm August morning. She saw a car coming down the gravel road. The car stopped near her gate. A man got out of the car. He was not young and not old. He was around 50 years old. He was tall and had a thin body. He wore old clothes. He had a camera around his neck. He looked like a traveler who had seen many places. He walked to Francesca's door and knocked. The man asked for help. He was looking for a covered bridge. Covered bridges are old wooden bridges with a roof and walls. In Madison County, there are several covered bridges. They were built many years ago. This man wanted to take pictures of them for a magazine, but he was lost. The roads were small and not well marked. He had a map, but the map was not clear. His name was Robert Kincaid. He worked for a famous magazine called National Geographic. That magazine published pictures of nature, animals, and different places around the world. Robert took pictures for this magazine. His job was to travel to beautiful places and take good pictures. He traveled alone most of the time. He did not have a wife or children. He lived in a small apartment in Seattle, Washington. His life was on the road. He liked the lonely roads and the quiet places. He did not like cities or crowds. Francesca knew the bridge he was looking for. It was called Roseman Bridge. It was one of the oldest covered bridges in the county. She could tell him how to go there. But the directions were difficult. There were many small turns. Robert asked if she could ride with him and show him the way. He said it would take only a short time. Francesca thought for a moment. She had nothing to do. Her family was away. The house was quiet. She said yes. She changed her clothes and got into his truck. They drove down the road toward Roseman Bridge. At the bridge, Robert got out of the truck. He walked around the bridge. He looked at the light and the shadows. He touched the old wood. Then he took out his camera and started taking pictures. He worked carefully and slowly. He seemed to love what he did. He did not talk much while he worked. Francesca watched him from the truck. Then she got out and walked near the bridge. She looked at the water below. It was a peaceful place. After some time, Robert finished his work. He put away his camera. He thanked Francesca for her help. Then he asked if he could buy her a drink to say thank you. They drove to a small cafe in the nearest town. The cafe was simple and clean. They sat at a small table. They ordered iced tea. Then they talked. Robert asked about her life in Italy. Francesca asked about his travels. They laughed together. They felt comfortable with each other. Robert was not like the other men Francesca knew. He was gentle but strong. He was quiet but curious. He listened to her words carefully. He looked at her eyes when she spoke. That evening, they returned to Francesca's house. Robert needed to take pictures of another bridge the next morning. Francesca invited him to come for dinner that night. She said she could cook an Italian meal. Robert accepted the invitation. He went to his motel room to clean up. Then he came back to the farmhouse. Francesca cooked a nice meal. She made a dish from her hometown in Italy. She used recipes her mother taught her. The food was simple but delicious. Robert liked the food very much. He told her about his life. He had been to many countries. He had seen many things. He had walked in the deserts of Africa. He had climbed mountains in Asia. He had sailed on oceans. He had taken pictures of wild animals, poor villages, and big cities. Francesca listened to every word. She told him about her life in Italy. She told him about her dreams when she was a young girl. She told him she felt stuck in Iowa. She said she loved her family, but she missed her old life. Robert listened. He did not judge her. He understood her feelings. After dinner, they moved to the living room. They sat on the old sofa. They talked more. The evening became night. The room was dark except for one small light. Then Robert stood up. He took Francesca's hand. They danced in the living room. There was no music playing, but they danced slowly, moving side to side. It was a quiet and beautiful moment. Francesca felt her heart open. She felt something she had not felt in many years. She felt alive. She felt like a woman, not just a mother or a wife. She knew she was falling in love with this stranger. Robert felt something too. He had been alone for a long time. He never wanted to be tied down to one place or one person. But Francesca was different. He loved her gentle voice. He loved her sad eyes. He loved her Italian laughter. The next morning, Robert went to take pictures of another bridge. Francesca went with him. She showed him the back roads of Madison County. They drove through fields of corn and soybeans. The wind moved the plants like waves on an ocean. The sky was big and blue. It was a beautiful summer. Robert took many pictures. He also took pictures of Francesca. He said she was beautiful. She laughed and said she was just a farm wife. But he said true beauty comes from inside. He took pictures of her standing near the bridges, sitting on the grass, and looking at the sky. Later, these pictures would become very important to her. They spent the days driving and walking. They spent the nights together in Francesca's house. They talked for hours. For the first time in years, Francesca felt fully happy. She felt that a missing part of her life had been found. Robert felt the same way. He had traveled many miles and met many people, but he had never met a woman like Francesca. She was honest, kind, and strong. They both knew the truth. This was real love. It was deep and true. But they also knew the problem. Francesca was married. Her husband and children would come back in 4 days. The 4 days were almost over. Francesca had to make a choice. On the last day, Robert asked Francesca to leave with him. He asked her to pack a bag and get into his truck. He wanted her to travel with him. He wanted to live with her for the rest of their lives. He said he would take care of her. They could go to many places. They could see the world together. They could live a free life without rules or schedules. He loved her. She loved him. It seemed simple. Two people who love each other should be together. But Francesca knew it was not simple. She thought about her family. If she left, her husband Richard would be humiliated. The whole town would know that his wife ran away with another man. Richard was a good man. He had never hurt her. He worked hard for the family. He did not deserve that pain. She thought about her children. Michael and Carolyn were still young. They needed their mother. If she left, they would be sad and angry. They might hate her. They might grow up with emotional wounds. She could not do that to her children. She loved them too much. She thought about herself. If she left, she would always feel guilt. She would remember the family she left behind. That guilt might ruin her happiness with Robert. She would live with sadness no matter what she chose. Francesca cried. She wanted to go with Robert. Her heart screamed yes, but her mind said no. She told him, "I cannot leave my family. I am sorry." Robert was very sad. His face showed deep pain, but he understood. He said, "I will not force you. I respect your choice. I knew this might happen, but I had to ask." He told her he would remember these 4 days forever. He said she was the best thing that ever happened to him in his whole life. Then he got into his truck. He started the engine. Francesca stood at the door. The truck moved slowly down the road. Rain started to fall from the sky. Francesca watched the truck get smaller and smaller. At the main road, Robert stopped at a red light. He waited there. The rain fell on his truck. Francesca watched from her house. She thought about running to him. She wanted to jump into the truck and never look back. Her heart beat fast. Her hand held the door handle. But she did not open the door. Robert waited at the light for a long time. Maybe he was thinking. Maybe he hoped she would come. Maybe he was saying goodbye in his heart. Then the light turned green. The truck moved forward and turned onto the highway. It disappeared into the rain. That was the last time Francesca ever saw Robert Kincaid. Richard and the children came home the next day. Francesca acted normal. She cooked dinner. She asked about the state fair. She smiled. But inside, she was broken. She cried alone at night when everyone was asleep. She never forgot Robert. She thought about him every day for the rest of her life. Years passed. The children grew up. Michael got a job in another state. Carolyn got married and moved away. Francesca and Richard lived alone on the farm. Life went on in its quiet way. Richard never knew about Robert. Francesca never told him. That was her secret. When the children were gone, Francesca tried to find Robert. She wrote letters to the National Geographic magazine. She asked where he was, but the magazine said he had left his job. No one knew where he went. She called phone numbers. She asked people who knew him, but she never found him. Robert seemed to have disappeared from the world. Richard got sick after many years. He had a disease in his body. Francesca took care of him for a long time. Then Richard died. Francesca was alone on the farm. She still hoped to find Robert, but she never did. Later, Francesca learned that Robert had died. She received a letter from a lawyer. Robert had kept her things. He had never married. He had never forgotten her. He had her picture with him until the day he died. When Francesca heard this, she cried for many days. She had hoped to see him again, but it was too late. Francesca lived a long life. She stayed on the farm. She never told anyone about Robert, not her children, not her friends. It was her secret. She kept his pictures and the note he wrote to her. Every year on her birthday, she would remember those 4 days in August. She would feel both happy and sad. Happy because those days happened. Sad because they ended. Francesca died in the 1980s. Her children, Michael and Carolyn, came to clean the house. They wanted to sell the farm. While they cleaned, they found a hidden box in the closet. In the box were letters, photographs, a camera, and a key. The letters were from Robert Kincaid. The photographs were of Francesca and the covered bridges. There was also a long letter from Francesca to her children. In her letter, Francesca told the truth for the first time. She told them about Robert. She told them about the 4 days in 1965. She told them she loved their father. Richard was a good husband, but she also loved Robert. She said the heart can love more than one person in a lifetime. She asked her children to understand her. She asked them to forgive her for keeping this secret. She also wrote her last wish. She wanted her ashes to be thrown from Roseman Bridge, the covered bridge where she first met Robert. The children were shocked. They did not know their mother had such a secret. Carolyn read the letter and cried. She felt sad for her mother. She understood that her mother gave up love for the family. Michael was angry at first. He thought his mother had done something wrong. He said she should not have met that man. But later, after thinking for many days, Michael changed his mind. He saw that his mother was a human being. She had her own heart and her own pain. She gave up her true love for her children. That was a great sacrifice. No one had the right to judge her. In the end, Michael and Carolyn followed their mother's wish. They drove to Roseman Bridge. They took her ashes out of the box. They threw the ashes into the wind. The wind carried the ashes over the bridge. The ashes flew over the old wood, over the water, and into the fields. Francesca and Robert were finally together in a way. A bridge, some ashes, and a love that never died.